You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's show is also brought to you by over at Supply House, because when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts at your doorstep tomorrow with over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times help keep you from punting on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. You need parts for a project fast. Supply House has next-day delivery, which can be a real game changer. Join the free Trademaster program today and score various serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free. Use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Parker Andrews, Leif Tulane here. Now, Leif, I'm bringing you in as an Arizona guy, and I understand the appreciation for the Wildcats. I think these two schools, athletic departments, programs, are weirdly kind of at a similar spot right now. They've got historic basketball programs. Houston goes back to Phi Slamma Jamma, Big E, right, et cetera. You've also got the more, like the 90s and early 2000s of the University of Arizona. And then the present tense, their basketball programs have real strong cultures. You mentioned the speed of Lloyd, Sampson, and his like grit or the physicality of the way they play. Football programs, rebuilding, reemerging. They each kind of pick their other sports. Houston's got a pretty strong volleyball program. The soccer program is good this year, surprisingly. Kind of out of nowhere in a lot of ways. Track and field, you got Carl Lewis and Olympians of galore, right? Baseball in Arizona is, something I don't have to tell anyone about. I think there's a rivalry to be built here, and admittedly, a lot of it hinges on this basketball rivalry. Do you think the I-10 rivalry has any sticking power because of those two cultural, like being so ingrained and fairly opposite?
Well, the other big thing that you didn't mention, but I think it goes without saying, is they came into the league at similar times, right? And you look at what you need in these, like Utah and BYU had a long-standing rivalry. Obviously, Arizona has Arizona State, but you look at what this team, in terms of basketball, these two teams and programs have. It's a belief that each year they should be an Elite Eight, a Final Four team, and Houston has been that more frequently than Arizona has. But Arizona's got a rich basketball history, you alluded to, and I really do believe that these are the teams that are ascending and really allocating their funds to basketball more than football and other sports compared to the rest of the Big 12. Because you look at some of the other schools, they have programs that have more decorated pasts than do our two schools, right? And so I think that they are similarly funded. They have similar levels of history and lore. And right now, they're top 15 teams in college basketball. And I would make the argument, if you were to go like program by program, you take the 10 years of Kelvin Sampson, which obviously is longer, and then Tommy Lloyd's, but you take their 10 years and you rank programs in terms of this is what they've done under these coaches, this is what their belief level is, their funding. They're both top 10 teams and maybe even higher. And so I really think you're looking at two teams that'll be top 3 seeds in March, and the two favorites I think Texas Tech's got a chance as well to win the Big 12 title.
Well, and I jokingly call it the I-10 rivalry. I will say, while it is 1,067 miles between the two campuses, it only takes 6 turns. So that's a little bit silly that it's really that simple. As once you get on I-10, you just head west for a long time. I think that the Lloyd Sampson aspect of this is fun. I also think it's interesting that I feel like both. You mentioned winning, and Sampson's chasing the elusive title, obviously. I think, frankly, both kind of need a title in the next 3-4 years, weirdly. Am I crazy for thinking that? Am I jumping the gun on thinking that? There's like a validation that would, I think Sampson's done enough to be a Hall of Famer. I don't mean that necessarily, but it's going to get talked. If he doesn't win one in the next 3 or 4 years, it's going to get talked about, rightly or wrongly. And I think that Arizona's kind of in the same boat with Lloyd. Am I wrong?
I think it's too soon for Lloyd, but I feel like Kelvin's turning into what Mark Few was for the 2010s. Like Mark Few, Gonzaga's getting really good, and then Gonzaga's starting to now recruit more heavily. I think Houston is what Gonzaga was at the end of the 2010s and early 2020s. in the sense that before they got Jalen Suggs and Chet Holmgren, Gonzaga would develop their guys. They'd have Killian Tilly and Shemek Karnowski and Pangos and all those guys. And then all of a sudden you get a few guys that are a little better. You get a Rui Hachimura, who's not a 4-year guy. And now you start going to the American guys. Whereas Houston, it's not recruiting Europe, which was Tommy Lloyd's specialty, to tie it all back together. But Houston's getting these guys who have been there for 5-6 years. And now you can get a guy like Harwell. You can get a guy like Sanak. You had Jarris Walker. And because of the winning built the old-fashioned gritty way and with longevity and keeping the team together, now you're starting to get the top guys, and it's one of the top brands in basketball, not just, oh, they win, like I respect him. I feel like that was kind of the thought on Houston for a long time while they were in the American. They've dominated the Big 12 since entering it. We're seconds away from winning the national championship, beat one of the best Duke teams in forever, which is, the preeminent program. And now Houston's the focal point of basketball. Like the people who don't have Purdue 1 always have Houston 2 right now. And that's just the tip of the cap. I don't think Lloyd's quite there yet in 5 years. This will be year 5, but I think he'll get there by years 6 through 10, maybe.
Well, and I guess admittedly, I in my head, he'd been at Gonzaga as an assistant for a lot longer. I don't guess I put together it was quite 50 years old. They've been there for a little bit longer than that. And then I just pulled up his wiki to make sure. I was like, oh yeah, no, that's right. I think that the interesting thing here too is that they both recruit guys that can take what they're getting into, right? Like Sampson said in a presser on Tuesday, he's like, we only recruit a certain type of kid. And if at some point in the recruiting process, we think like, hey, we've invested a lot in this kid and the recruiting and whatever, and we don't think he's one of us anymore, they get out. And you mentioned the 5-star kids. They don't just go get every 5-star kid. They don't go after every 5-star kid because bluntly, not every 5-star kid can do what Houston's going to ask them to do when they show up. I have a lot of respect for what Lloyd does at Arizona for doing, frankly, a very similar thing. Not everyone can play that pace with that kind of discipline that's required to play at Arizona, which kind of makes the amount of freshmen that got the big freshman class both schools got most recently kind of crazy, right, Leif?
I mean, they're perfectly aligned. If you look at the freshmen, I mean, Harwell and Burries and Sanak and Pete, that'll be awesome. And then, of course, you have the guys who are already there. So I do think this is the biggest basketball rivalry of the top schools. Like Houston and Kansas, of course, Houston's dethroned Kansas. There's something there, but it's not quite there. Arizona and Arizona State, it's a rivalry, and it for sure is, but Arizona State's not very good right now. I mean, you look at these teams, correct me if I'm wrong, but Texas Tech in basketball, I think there can be a rivalry between you guys, but I don't think it's there yet. Like, I don't feel like they both have kind of felt these like underdog stories coming up to the precipice, and now Texas Tech's got tons of oil money, and maybe that's the other one. But I do feel like the timelines are similar for Arizona and Houston, so I'm on board with it generally.
Tech did get Houston last year. It's the only conference loss Houston had. It was at home. It was a little embarrassing, honestly, because
83-82. I remember the game. It was beautiful.
And for what it's worth, like Houston probably should have won because of the toss of early in the game, and then coach got tossed as well, and all probably should have. They also probably should have lost in the one score games they won. So I'm not saying they shouldn't have been 19 or 18 wins or whatever. But Tech fans will be in my comments right now saying it should be Tech. They got them last year. I totally understand. We'll see what that program looks like, the money infused over the next half decade and how long that lasts. They did just get a bigger commitment out of Dakari Spear, though, a 4-star I really like out of the Metroplex. Leif, you're doing a lot of things that are not just Locked On Wildcats. You are going to be the host when Locked On Wildcats comes back in the very, very near future. So talk to us about what all, you're in a lot of places across the network, including Locked On College Basketball, which fans of Locked On Cougs probably know pretty well.
Yeah, so over the last couple of years on Locked On, I have been on Locked On NBA Big Board. That's no longer going now. No Sealants is doing their thing and doing excellently. So I still do cover the draft, but I'm not doing that for Locked On anymore. But where I am all the time is with Isaac and Andy on Locked On College Basketball. And I hosted Locked On College Basketball Game Night last year. So on Saturday nights, if you wanted to recap, talked about Houston plenty of times and cover them. So I cover college basketball as a whole and adore it. So I'm very familiar with all the Big 12 teams as well as the rest of the country. And so I'm very eager to get going and specialize on a team in Arizona. I'm kind of thankful that I got a basketball heavy school in Arizona that I get to talk about some of the stuff I would talk about anyway, because I wrote out my rankings months ago because that's what I live for, college basketball. And so the AP poll came out at a good time, got the gig. Looking forward to talking about the Cats. I'm sure I'll be talking about Houston plenty in various ways, but I'm eager to be on more of these squad shows, crossovers, and have Locked On Wildcats back.
The Cougs and Cats meet up this Saturday in football with a much anticipated game on this February. I guess it's early February, and basketball as well. All kinds of fun things for the Wildcats, the Houston Cougars get together. Thank you again, Leif, for coming on, breaking it down with us. Locked On Cougs, from the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Go Cougs.